Hi guys, it's Sophia here from ALM Fitness, and today I'm going to talk a little bit more about sleep. We're on the fourth chapter now of sleep, and today I'm going to talk about sleep cycles. Okay, so sleep cycles are something that we all go through every single night. We have several sleep cycles throughout the night. Sleep cycle lasts approximately 90 minutes, an hour and a half. And during this cycle, we go through different stages of sleep, and each of those stages is really important in a different way. So the two main stages of sleep is REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, and NREM, non-rapid eye movement sleep, which is otherwise known as our deep sleep. Now the NREM is split into three stages. So you have your just drifting off, a little bit deeper, and then number 3, which is our deep sleep, where the delta waves, slow wave brain activity is occurring. So first of all, we start to drift off to sleep, and we go down those stages until we reach that NREM sleep, that NREM 3. During this time, this first session lasts around 45 to 90 minutes, and this is where our body heals and repairs. Our logical thinking is transferred into long-term memory making, so factual based learning we have done throughout the day, and skills that we have learned. So say if we're taking on a new hobby or sport or whatever, those things that we have learnt during the day, the muscle memory as we call it, is actually brain memory, and they are solidified in the brain. So this deep sleep is really important it's important for all sorts of regeneration, and it's where our body restores itself when we go to sleep. But it's also important, say for when you're doing exams, when you're learning things, everything else. So when you're younger and you're cramming for exams, say for example, it's actually one of the worst things you can do is to pull an all-nighter before an exam. So that deep sleep, that sleep beforehand, is so important, because everything you've learned over the past however long will be being solidified in your brain, transferring from the hippocampus into the prefrontal cortex and kind of going into different areas where it needs to, and linking up to previous experiences and previous learning. And that's where all sense comes in as to what we need to know, what we need to learn, and how to apply it in daily life. So that deep sleep is really important for our logical thinking, for our learning and everything else, as well as for our bodies to repair and recuperate, ready for the next day. Now, our sleep cycles, our deep sleep cycle, part of the cycle, gets shorter as we go on. So early on in the night, you'll get that rich deep sleep, helping your brain and your body to recuperate from the day, ready for the next day. And as we get into lighter sleep, so once we've had about 90 minutes of sleep, we go into our first REM cycle. So REM, rapid eye movement, is where we dream. Now, during this time, it's really interesting, because this is where the prefrontal cortex actually switches off. So all of our logical thoughts and explanations are repressed during this time, and our more creative brain waves are occurring. So the brain is really active, and it actually looks very similar on a brain scan to when we are awake. So it's during this time that we have dreams, and we can have some bizarre dreams. And as Matthew Walker calls it, you're routinely psychotic during this time, because they are things that you wouldn't necessarily do in real life, or experiences that you wouldn't really experience in real life. Dreams can vary. Some of them can be as a result of day residue, as Freud put it, and that's from things we've done throughout the day. There's some day residue left in our brain, and that plays out in our dreams. But other than that, they can be really random, but there is a point to dreams. It does make our creativity much more prevalent, but also it helps our autobiographical memory, and so those memories, those emotional memories we make and everything else, it helps to solidify those and also block them out if needs be, depending on things like trauma, PTSD. The REM sleep helps to block those things out. So it's got a really important function, and it is important for the mental recovery of our brains ready for the next day. Without sufficient REM sleep throughout the night, that's when we can become quite short-fused, quite emotional. So if you've had poor sleep, you might have had some decent deep sleep earlier on in the night, but you might not have got enough of that REM sleep throughout the night. So this is when we can get really quickly short-tempered, or we can cry over the silliest of things, or just feel frustrated in general and not how we usually would react to things. So our brain hasn't had enough recuperation emotionally to deal with day-to-day stresses as such. And that REM sleep is where we do kind of bathe the brain in this dream state sleep, which kind of washes everything away and gets us set into a clear mind. Like you say, sleep on it. When we make big decisions, or if we've had an argument or anything else, everything seems different in the morning, clearer. We seem a lot more logical, and we're not as emotional and everything else. So there's a lot to be said for REM sleep. And the problem with this is when people don't have a long enough period of sleep, they generally don't get enough REM sleep. So although deep sleep is just as important, but deep sleep being really important, if you say don't go to sleep for long enough, your first REM period will only be for about 10 minutes. Your REM gets longer and longer as you go throughout the night. So if you're getting up at 3 a.m. in the morning, the likelihood is you won't have had enough REM sleep, and that's when you might feel a bit more emotional, a bit more sensitive during the day. If you are, on the other token, going to bed really, really late, and you're not going to bed till, say, 2 in the morning, that's when you start missing out on this deep sleep, because your body is expecting to go to sleep much earlier. So as you can see, like I said before, your bedtimes are really important, because depending on what time you go to bed and what time you wake is going to determine whether or not you're getting enough of these two main sleep cycles. So if you're getting a good 7-8 hours of sleep, you're going to get roughly 6 hours of your more NREM sleep, deep sleep, and that's recovering your body, and you'll get nearly an hour of your dream sleep, which doesn't sound a lot, but that's about what you need in all of those cycles to function at your best. So yeah, in recap, you've got your 90-minute cycles, and you have your dream sleep and your deep sleep, and they both are really important in effective functioning for the brain and for the body. So again, get enough sleep, go to bed early enough, and yeah, I hope this has been helpful and you can take something away from this. Thank you very much for listening.